Hi everyone, so this video is about my solution for workshop lights. Depending on the size of your room, that will determine the number of lights you need. Obviously the bigger a room, the more lights you need, the more power it takes. So I wasn't very happy about the thought of having to maybe put 4 or 5 different lights up so that I could light every single area, because put a single bulb up in the middle of the room, for example, that's great when you're in the middle because the light's coming down on you, but anywhere around the periphery of the room, the light's behind you, you'll be in shadow, etc. Now, a normal incandescent bulb or LED bulb gives good light, but again, it's not a concentrated light, so when you're away from it, it's not that great. So another thing you can get now is, obviously you know about, is LED battens. So these things, relatively cheap. So for example, this is a 4-foot LED batten, just using LED strips, 2 of them in the middle of this, for example. Now the beauty about these is that they give a fantastic amount of light when you're directly under them, but when you're away from them, they don't give very much. So how many of these do I put up? So the way I thought to begin with was, I'll put up a quarter of the way into the room from one end and a quarter in from the other end. That way they both do, say, half the room. But the problem being is that, again, if you're at either end of the room, if you're in the middle, you've got no problem because you've got a batten on either side of you. But if you're at the end of the room, you're going to be blocking the light. So what do? So this is, I thought, oh, I could make it that I stick them up on the ceiling. So I could cover the ceiling with Velcro, for example, or even put some metal plates up and use magnets. But again, you're limited in the positions you can put it. So then I come up with the crazy idea of, let's mount some arms that can swivel about on the ceiling and put these battens at the end of them. So this is basically what I'm going to show you today. And hopefully it's going to work. It's funny, I'm just making it up as I go along. What I'm going to be doing is using copper pipe to make the arms, and some oak flooring I've got for making wooden bits up, etc. So we'll see how it goes anyway. And just before we get started, I also thought about mounting the LED battens onto like stands or clamps, but that then means that you either need a surface to clamp it onto, which you won't always have, and stands, you can guarantee no matter where you clamp it or where you put the stand, it's going to get in the way. So this is why I think this idea of mounting them on the ceiling and arms is the best way to go. As I say, let's go on with it. Right, so after all that work, soldering arms together and making up so many different versions of the oak bits which are used for pivoting, etc., I wasn't happy with the way I was doing things, so I put those arms to the side. I went and bought more copper pipe and some compression fittings and started making the arms out of compression fittings. So, time for the big reveal. You must forgive me, I've got a couple of bits of string hanging down from the LED bands at the moment to be able to move them. I can reach the copper arms, but not the LED bands. At some point I'll make something better for them. But here we go, I've got all the lights turned off at the moment. It's just daylight that's coming in at the moment, so you can see. So here we go. So the one problem I've got is that I need to swivel to be able to see them all, because each of these arms is about 4 foot long at the moment. Or sorry, 4 foot long. So basically you've got central bulb, so that's just a normal LED bulb, 14 watts, gives the equivalent of 100 watts. And then on either side I've got individual switches to be able to turn on and off each of the LED bands individually. So let's see the main light on. So the main light in the middle is a kind of yellowish light, which is just, it's a kind of like I quite like. The LED buttons are a daylight, so far better for when you're doing any work. So turn them on now. So as you can see, they're really bright. I was a bit disappointed when I first tried them, because it was, I should have realised that they give a very direct light underneath, but off to the sides they're not very great, but that's what they're there for, and that's what the main bulb is for. It gives you the normal light, and then you've got these LED buttons for more detailed work. So I'll let you see them working. So for example, I'll give a shot of my wood lathe in a wee while, showing me actually turning the lights on and off, but just now I'll just demonstrate moving them. So basically these can swivel near enough 360 degrees around the room. The only thing that stops them is each of the arms will eventually hit the other arm. So for example, if I want to light this corner, I'll need to swivel this at the right time. Oops. I can put one parallel with that wall there, then I can bring the other one round. And put it up like that. So now I've got really good lighting in that corner. So basically these can swivel to anywhere in the room. For example, this one, this is the only problem I've got to watch how I move them, because they keep on hitting off the walls. I can bring this right round to this side of the room now, and that's me now get light over here as well. And as I said, I've not got any of this problem of stands etc getting in the way. So I'm quite happy with it. I'll give you a close-up shot of the central kind of rows. That was just something I put together. Its main function, although it's quite nice I think, its main function is to act as the pivot points, because there's obviously quite a lot of weight in the copper themselves, and then the LED buttons are quite light, but they're all cantilevered off the central point, so I had to make that quite good, quite strong should I say. So I hope you like it. I'll go and do a demo now of the lights, the LED buttons above my wood lathe, just so you can see the difference they make. Okay, so this is the lighting just with the middle light on. We now switch one of the LED buttons on. Makes a huge difference. And then the second LED button on. Again, just it brightens everything up. So it just means that now when I'm working on anything on the wood lathe, or indeed anywhere in the room, I can now put both LED buttons exactly where I need them. I don't have any problems or shadows etc. So I'm quite chuffed with it. It's turned out good. Well, I hope you found that interesting, maybe give you some ideas. It's maybe not the best way of doing things. There will be various other ways. I had thought of making them slide out and along the arms, but the problem with that is then that you're fixed in how far out you can slide it according to the wall. And also, if you have them that they can rotate and pivot on the end, it means that you can rotate it so that it now becomes parallel with the wall rather than poking into the wall. So I think it's turned out quite good. Anyway, so next project is my bathroom. Basically I took it apart like 2 or 3 years ago and I haven't put it back together yet. So now I'm going to get the finger out, and basically I'm going to do a kind of steampunk themed sort of bathroom makeover. So that's why, for example, I've got a bath sitting there. The basic idea with that is I'm going to cut the rim off of it so that it's round at both ends. I've got nice sapel wood downstairs. I'm then going to make some nice curved ends and basically then I'm going to cut the rim off that bath, for example, and make a steel rim for it to re-strengthen it, etc. So I've got various bits and pieces. I've got that to do. I've got wall panels to make up. I've got a lovely ceiling to make up. So basically that's the next few videos are going to be all about that, and hopefully you'll find that interesting. Anyway, take care. And of course I nearly forgot to show you the central ceiling rose, so I've had to turn the lights off just so you can actually see it. So basically it's MDF for the two main bits of the ceiling rose with little bits of MDF in between to give a wee slight gap between each of them. You can just about see that. The very central bit and this bit here are made out of oak. The rest of it is basically copper tubing with compression fittings. These are just inline switches, so all the wiring comes down through the top tube and then runs along the bottom tube right to where the LED batten is. I've tried to make it that the wires don't rub, obviously, because having a live connection going to the copper tubing wouldn't be all that great. So the ceiling rose started off as a couple of octagons, and then I thought I'll cut some scallops out the edge, so it turned out quite nice. And the central bulb, again, it's just a copper tube running directly up through the centre of the rose. So anyway, hope you like.